Today, obesity in cats is at an all-time high, and digestive issues, kidney disease, and cancer are way more common than ever before. Now, the diet, environment, and genetics do play a huge role in this, but there's actually something else that many people don't think about: meal frequency, or the amount of meals that we feed a day. There's been a lot of research on the amount of meals us humans eat a day and how it can affect our health. However, not much research has been done on how this can affect our pets' health. Well, until recently. In 2022, a study showed that the amount of meals a dog eats in a day can lower the chances of GI issues, organ disorders, and also cancer. This is great to hear. But what about for cats? Could we improve their lives by the amount of meals we feed them too? To figure this out, let's look at how most owners feed their cats today. One of the most common ways people feed their cats is to free feed. And the reason it's so common is because of how simple it is. All you have to do is pour some dry food into a bowl and fill it back up whenever it's empty. This way, the cat can graze throughout the day whenever they're hungry. This certainly seems like a win-win for the cat and the owner. However, there's actually a big problem with this way of feeding: obesity. And here's why. Dry food is the food of choice when free feeding because it doesn't spoil when it's left out. The thing about dry food, though, is that these balls of dried starches, vegetables, and meat meal aren't very tasty on their own. However, pet food companies have a sneaky way of getting cats to not just eat the food, but become obsessed with the food. And the secret lies in an ingredient called palatants. Palatants make the food smell and taste like freshly cooked meat and fish. And this makes the food so enticing that cats can't stop eating it. They end up becoming addicted to dry food. And if they always have this food around whenever they're hungry or even just bored, this can lead to very rapid weight gain and eventually cause obesity. And this is a major problem in cats these days. In fact, recent studies show that about 60% of domestic house cats are considered obese. I didn't even realize how bad this was until I started working at a veterinary clinic. It was actually so common that a veterinarian I worked with even said that she would catch herself thinking that lean, healthy cats were actually underweight because of how often she saw overweight cats. I mean, every cat I weighed was over 10 pounds, sometimes even reaching 20 pounds. I once even met a cat that was 35 pounds. Obesity puts a strain on the heart and kidneys, raises the risk of diabetes, and adds pressure to the joints. And free feeding is one of the biggest contributors to obesity in cats today. So instead of offering endless amounts of addictive dry food, it's best to actually control how much your cat eats each day. Luckily, many owners already know that portion control is important. So this brings us to the other most common way people feed their cats: 2 meals a day. Feeding 2 portioned out meals not only controls how many calories your cat eats, but it's also a pretty easy schedule to follow: 1 meal in the morning and 1 meal in the evening. This seems like a fine feeding schedule, but if studies are saying that obesity, kidney disease, and other illnesses are rising, could this really be the best way to feed cats, or is there something better out there? And if there is, how do we figure it out? Well, nature tends to show us how animals eat in a natural setting. So let's see how cats naturally eat without us humans feeding them. Before humans domesticated cats, they survived by hunting small prey animals like rodents, birds, and small amphibians. 12,000 years later, well after humans domesticated them, cats still have the same instinct to hunt and are able to live outdoors just fine without us. In fact, today, an estimated 480 million cats are feral, meaning they're not socialized with humans at all and only know a life outdoors. So looking at how feral cats hunt could clue us in on how many meals they eat a day. And lucky for us, between 2012 and 2014, a group of researchers actually investigated this for us. What they did was place a small video camera on the collars of feral cats in 2 areas of northwest Australia, then released them back into the wild to observe their hunting patterns. Many hours of data was collected from the day-to-day life of a feral cat. And surprise, surprise, the footage showed that most of their day was spent sleeping, relaxing, and grooming. However, these cats still hunted pretty often. In fact, each cat killed about 7.2 prey animals on a daily basis. But the odd thing was, 28%, or 2 out of 7 of the prey animals that they caught, were not eaten. This means that cats in the wild generally eat around 5 meals a day, according to how these feral cats hunted. Okay, what does this mean? Well, if we want to go off of how cats thrive in the wild, we can see that cats tend to eat many small meals throughout the day. But the problem now is the average cat owner doesn't have time or isn't home long enough to feed this many meals a day. So how do we turn how cats naturally eat in the wild into an easy feeding routine anybody can follow? Well, we know that feeding 2 meals a day is pretty easy for most owners to do. But not everyone can feed 5 small meals a day. So what I suggest is going from feeding 2 meals a day to feeding 3 meals a day. Now, this may not seem like much of a difference, but many owners, including myself, find that 3 small meals a day is the best way to feed adult cats. Studies have also shown that feeding several small meals a day also led to increased activity levels, which is a great way to maintain a healthy weight. I've experimented with many different feeding routines, from 1 large meal a day up to 5 small meals a day. And what my cat Tangy seems to prefer the most is 3 split meals a day. So if you already feed 1 meal before work and 1 meal after work, all you need to do is feed a 3rd small meal before you go to bed. So if your cat eats 4 ounces a day, you would split this total weight of food into 3 small portions. It's an easy routine, yet still closer to the amount of meals they naturally eat in the wild. But of course, every cat is an individual, so it's up to you to figure out the best meal routine for your cat. The only thing I would say not to do is free feed dry food. And honestly, I would suggest you stop feeding dry food altogether. Why? Well, I explained just how harmful dry food can be in this video.